October 7th was a Sabbath morning. It was also a Jewish festival called Simchat Torah, the joy of the Torah, where once a year we complete reading all the portions of the 5 books and we celebrate. At 6:29 in the morning of October 7th, sirens pierced almost all of Israel, including in my hometown of Ra'anana, and millions of Israelis, that's fairly unusual, millions of Israelis went down to their safe rooms, shelters, and after a few minutes came out. What happened during those minutes, thousands of Hamas terrorists breached the border in dozens and dozens of points. Roughly 5,000 terrorists we know now, and attacked roughly 60 communities, kibbutzim, cities, and for hours and hours went from one home to another, murdering as many Jews as possible, burning families, raping women, and kidnapping 240 Israelis. October 7th tells us, can you hear me? Can you hear me? October 7th has 2 halves of one story. The first half is an epic failure of the state of Israel. On our very core mission, Israel's core mission is that never again Jews will be under a pogrom, under a massacre for hours and hours helpless. That's why we founded the state of Israel after thousands of years, and we pledged that that would not happen, and it did happen. You know, in Israel, we've had terror way before the establishment of the state of Israel. For about 150 years, we've had Arab terror, but usually a terror attack ends within anywhere between 5 seconds and 5 minutes. This was different. These were ongoing massacres. And it's almost an incomprehensible failure of intelligence, of operations, and subsequent to October 7th, the following month, there was a total meltdown of governmental services in Israel. Like nothing worked. The state, institutional Israel failed. Now, I'm being very blunt about it, because if we want to fix it, we have to be open-eyed about our failure. That's the only way to fix it. And that's one half of the story. But the other half of the story is a remarkable rise of the people of Israel, especially the younger generation, ages 18 to 40, men and women, where we discovered, and I did not know this, and no one knew this, that we have strong, tough, resilient, idealistic young men and women. Because on October 7th, and I'm not sure you guys know this, thousands of Israelis from all across Israel, men and women, got in their cars as news was percolating in those horrible first hours, took whatever they had, it might be a pistol, sometimes they didn't even have a pistol, and drove down to the Gaza circle to fight, to defend people they've never met, but they're brothers and sisters. Thousands of them. That is a profoundly unnatural thing to do. We're designed to run away from harm's way. You know, I was, in 2001, September 11th, I was in Manhattan when the towers were attacked. I saw the towers on fire. I remember I was a CEO of my high-tech company. I remember a river of people walking really quickly to northward, which is natural, and we had the heroes, which were the firefighters, who drove down, and we sort of praised them. But in Israel, it was the reverse. It was citizens that did that, and they saved the day in many ways. Let me illustrate this. Tell you, I had the privilege of meeting hundreds and hundreds of fighters, of civilians, policemen, soldiers who fought on October 7th, and debriefed them, because what I do always when there's a crisis, I drive down and want to be there. So everything I'm telling you is not through media, it's from hearing it with my own ears. A guy called Elchanan, a 43-year-old guy, a bit chubby, lives in a community next to Yerushalayim, Jerusalem. So at about 10, 11 in the morning, he hears that one of the kibbutzim, Kibbutz Be'eri, is under attack. He calls up his brother, called Menachem, and their nephew called Itiel, get in a car. They drive, they had one rifle and two pistols. Now, just as a way of background, a pistol is almost useless when you're fighting machine guns. They drove down to Kibbutz Be'eri, which was one of the epicenters of the biggest massacres, and the three of them formed a team. They took rifles from fallen soldiers, so they had 3 rifles, and for 16 hours straight, they went from one home, evacuating the families to the entrance of the kibbutz, which was secured, and back under fire to the next home, knocking on the door, persuading the people that they are good and not the terrorists, because it was a whole mess. Back and forth, for 16 hours. They saved, these 3 young men saved 100 lives. At 9 a.m. in the morning, Sunday morning, the morning after, Elchanan Kalmanzon took a bullet and died. He left behind 5 children. But my point is that as I met more and more, I realized there are thousands of young men and women Elchanans in Israel. Thousands. The highest degree of heroism that exists. And believe me, I've served and fought every single war over the past 30 years. I commanded operations. I have never seen the degree of courage that regular people displayed on October 7. Let me tell you a story. A girl, I keep on saying men and women, there's a reason. The reason is, throughout the years, I was sort of hesitant and reluctant about the pace of introducing women to very combat units. I thought we should move really slowly. I'm sort of conservative, and, well, I was wrong. Because 21-year-old girl comes to my house about 4 months ago, and as I always do, I sort of grill her for about an hour and a half to understand exactly what you did, and on a map, I open Google Maps and show me you went from here. It's always, because I want to understand everything. So she's a 21-year-old girl. She was a tank commander far away from Gaza, 30 miles away from the border, on the Sinai border. She has a female crew in her tank, and she decides to drive the tank over to the Gaza border. She speeds, breaks all the rules, gets to the border. She identified a breach, a big breach, and there was a flow of terrorists trying to come in, and she blocked them, she killed them. For hours, for 4 hours, she was attacked by RPGs, hand grenades, she maneuvered. And I'm like, after an hour and a half, when I exhausted her and myself, I'm in awe. And then she says, I have a favor to ask, and I assumed she maybe wants a scholarship or I don't know, whatever you want. She said, could we do a little TikTok movie? and now, then it occurred to me that it's the same girl. What we wrote off as a generation of TikTok and nonsense turns out that it's the toughest generation